Hello and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde, a broadcast journalist of more than 30 years. I'd like us to take a quick look at our education in Nigeria, particularly academic education, where a shortage of financing is endangering the nation's ability to provide its citizens with high-quality education, irrespective of what the Constitution says.
True friendship, it lasts forever. True friendship, a gift we share together. No matter where you are, we're there together. Sharing moments, happiness is when we are together. We are together.
Maltina, share happiness.
UNESCO and other global organizations like the Global Partnership for Education frequently use benchmarks, indicating that nations need to strive to devote 15 to 20% of their overall public spending and around 4 to 6% of their GDP to education. Now, these recommendations are supposed to assist nations in guaranteeing sufficient financing for education. For the past 10 years, Nigeria has continuously allocated less than 10% of its overall budget to education, especially at the federal level. Wide-ranging consequences result from this underfunding. A brain drain of professionals and academics who are looking for opportunities elsewhere, restricted access to high-quality education, run-down schools, packed classrooms, a lack of resources, and low teacher morale. And the repercussions? A cycle of poor education, limited opportunities for Nigerian youth, which in turn hinders the country's overall development.
We don't have an end-to-end strategy. What is education supposed to do? How should we make it happen? I, for example, am driven in education to a philosophy that was enunciated back in the 1960s and 70s by a Brazilian educator called Paulo Freire. Paulo Freire wrote the book, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And his argument is, basic thesis is that colonialism had a strategy, and they treated in that strategy the mind of the colonized like a piggy bank. Like you bring out, as a kid, you have a small piggy bank at home. They give you 1 shilling, as we used to have in those days, or 1 naira. And you get home, you drop a coin in your piggy bank. Then one day you have the need to buy Christmas dress or whatever, they break your piggy bank, and mais voila, £5 comes out. So the colonized mind is supposed to just receive enough droppings to be able to maintain the system. So the average doctor from a colonized educational system knows that when you have certain symptoms, it's malaria. So he prescribes Nivaquine or whatever it was that they prescribed in those days, and malaria disappeared. but he doesn't know enough to work on a vaccine to stop malaria. So if you need to think about vaccine, you think, what can London do for us? And so Paulo Freire argues that education must begin with a certain vision of the world and how the educated, literally of their own, makes a choice of what kind of learning would make them catalysts to move the world from where it was to the dream of the world that they see. I think that education must begin like that, and that policy and general education strategy must be based on that world that we want created to enable the learner become a catalyzer of change. Well, in all of this, technology integration is critical. One of the most powerful tools in education is teacher quality. When you have teacher quality, you'll see the difference. I mean, but how many good teachers are there? How can they reach people who are remote? But technology can make that happen. When Adams Oshiomhole was governor of Edo State and went to visit a school and the teacher could not even spell a correct word or write a sentence in English, he unveiled a national tragedy that was looking us in the face. What I said to him at that time is that he could make a great difference by just using some smart technology, where remotely located teachers can actually teach people in remote areas with the local on-ground teachers as basically facilitators of the process. In India, there are technologies that allow that to happen, where people can go out on a truck with a satellite dish. It goes into some rural area and a classroom be taught by somebody who's remotely located. I think that those are some of the possibilities that exist for us to make education more accessible to people who were disadvantaged.
Some industries are established in some locations so that it can attract the social amenities to those areas.
The influx of inexperienced teachers into the education sector has been a major problem that we are facing right now. Not just that they are inexperienced, the fact that some of them may not even have the necessary tools as to the level of teaching has really militated against what is the teaching process. Most of them come in and then distort the methods and do not want to follow the principles, do not even want to understand what is needed. Mostly, for example, in teaching persons with disabilities or children with special needs, this is where it's even gone beyond, because first of all, they come in and then want to treat the children with special needs like the normal students. I want to teach them like the normal students. I want to categorize them, rate them, evaluate them, assess them, deal with them like the normal students that they were when they were in their previous school. So coming in with the inexperience is one of the things that has militated against the successes of the goals and aspirations of the national policy of education and the aim of education in general. So, I think government should be able to see how we can be able to help in this direction, maybe by in-service training, because things are hard, you can send them all out. But like what is happening in our school, we try as much as possible to provide in-service training to see that they can be able to understand what is expected of them and what is needed of them at a particular time so that they can be able to function effectively.
During the electrolysis of acidated water, when you are done with writing your cathodic half and anodic half, the influx of inexperienced teachers in the teaching profession is damaging to our profession. Because before you become a teacher, you go through the training. There are things you need to learn. But the inexperienced teachers will come into the school system without these trainings. So in order to curb the damages, the environment and the remuneration for teachers should be raised in order to entice people who actually are qualified to come into the teaching profession. And secondly, at the point of entry, the human resource person or department should make sure they have criteria for employing teachers that if you are not qualified, you shouldn't come into the teaching profession at all. So from the point of entry, it can be controlled so that the damages can also be controlled. To be a qualified teacher in Nigeria, you ought to have your NCE, which is entry point for some people. Then later they upgrade to their Bachelor of Education. Or at least, if you are coming in from another discipline, you ought to have your postgraduate diploma in education and also fully registered with the Teacher Registration Council of Nigeria. People who are moving abroad to teach now must have their TRCN certificate, which is one of the rudiments for them to get the QTS for those people traveling to England and all that. So we should achieve it also in Nigeria by making sure that teachers who are teaching children should have education qualification, NCE, BEd, even if it's BSc or BA, should have postgraduate diploma in education to ensure that the proper training in education, schools, university, or colleges of education, that the teacher must have gone through the trainings.
In 2015, a beacon of hope emerged when the Maltina Teacher of the Year initiative was born. It didn't just provide recognition for our teachers, it also transformed their teaching experiences. And after nearly 10 years, impacting over 300 participating teachers and transforming hundreds of schools, 241 teachers and 9 schools have been rewarded with over 500 million naira in cash and non-cash prizes. With its impact transcending borders, award-winning Nigerian teachers are now being recognized internationally, showcasing the talent and dedication of educators from Nigeria. This initiative is a brainchild of the Nigerian Bruce Felix Ohiwere Education Trust Fund and proudly endorsed by the Federal Ministry of Education. This edition is supported by Union Bank, Woodhall Capital Foundation, Airpeace, and Alert Group. Maltina Teacher of the Year, a decade of inspiring excellence in teaching.
Education ought to be properly strengthened. The policies that guide the acquisition of learning. Whenever there is a change in policy, it affects not only the students, but it affects even the teachers. When we have policy somersaults, this government will come with another policy, another government will come with another policy. It touches a lot of what we give as teachers. So what we need, we're supposed to have those in government, they're supposed to partner with organizations like the NUT, the ANCOPS, to fashion out an effective policy as far as education is concerned. Because the changes, we remember we started this 6334, is not actually matured, and then we move into another system where the initial thing is that after the first 3 years of secondary school, the child can be on his own. But it's no longer like that. You can produce policies that you cannot fund properly, and that is where funding comes in. Whenever you produce a policy, you must have also a framework of funding that is going to be very effective and adequate to nurture that policy into fruition. Changes in policies affect learning and affect the quality of teaching generally. Well, if we want to be a citizen of the globe, technology is the in thing now. And if we want our children to learn better, they ought to be technologically advanced, technologically educated. To give that education, we don't neglect the role of the teachers. We have teachers that have very little idea of this technology. These teachers ought to be brought on board by training, retraining locally and internationally, for them to fit into the global world. They also have to be taught trained on how to guide the use of this technology. There are negative use of technology in schools, and that is where our results, when they are released, we have a lot of problem there. These children don't rely on reading, they rely very much on technology that they get the answers very easily. For teachers and students to fit into the global education framework, they don't rely just for what the teachers can give them. They need to go in and they learn a lot of things, but they need to be properly guided. So integrating technology into learning gives a lot of opportunity for the child, a lot of opportunity for the teacher to widen his horizon as far as teaching and learning are concerned. To do that, this integrating technology into all aspects of teaching, both from the student side and from the teacher side, is very, very important. You can use technology to do almost everything. If you are away, you can use technology as a principal to manage your school. The teachers can use technology to give students, especially the coronavirus has given us an opportunity that yes, we can use technology in education. And in Nigeria, we are trying to integrate as teachers, as ANCOPs, we are trying to integrate technology into our teaching. You give homework to students, do it on the internet, send it to you, mark and send the feedback. So technology is very important because it is the in thing now.
Access to quality education is very crucial for unlocking opportunities and driving national growth. The ETF supports this access through a range of impactful initiatives such as providing research grants and scholarships to help students gain higher education without financial constraints. With the limited access to internet facilities, particularly in rural communities, infrastructural development is vital. To further aid access to quality education, the ETF has over the years built and renovated 429 schools and libraries in more than 74 communities, which are mostly in rural areas. We have also realized that not too many Nigerian families can afford to buy books for their children. This has informed the ETF's yearly donation of books to primary, secondary, and even special needs schools across the country. All these efforts are geared towards ensuring that Nigerians have access to quality education.
True friendship, it lasts forever. True friendship, a gift we share together. No matter where you are, we're there together. Sharing moments, happiness is when we are together.
Maltina, share happiness.
Now, the future of education in Nigeria may be changed if reforms were implemented to prioritize education. More and better financing could mean more resources, more up-to-date infrastructure, and improved teacher welfare. Thankfully, the curricular review is underway to make the academic education more future-focused. A federal official told us that recently. So we expect that as a result of that, teacher development and retention programs will improve. Access to high-quality education for underserved populations will be provided, and the application of technology into the teaching and learning processes will also be facilitated. With the proper focus on education, research and innovation would be promoted, as would partnerships and collaborations. Examination and evaluation procedures would be enhanced, and Nigerian scholars will be given opportunities to contribute to the improvement process of our education. In this scenario, Nigeria's education could experience significant transformation, leading to improved learning outcomes, increased access to quality education, and enhanced global competitiveness. The next decade could be bright for Nigeria's education sector, but it requires commitment and action from all stakeholders. I'm Ayo Makinde. Thank you.
Next time on Teaching with the Heart.
The menace of exam malpractice in Nigeria results from a variety of things. One part of it is a focus on certificates over knowledge. I often refer to Nigeria as a country run by certificated illiterates.